So Teofimo Lopez's next fight is all but set. He will very, very likely be taking on Steve Clag next. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my thoughts on this fight and my objective truth towards this fight. This is how I genuinely feel about the fight, what I think about it. It's in the title. You guys already see I'm not a fan of this matchup. Now, before I break down why, I want to let you guys know I'm not a hater of Teofimo Lopez. As you guys know, I've actually been pretty supportive of the guy throughout his career, and I have him on my pound-for-pound list at the moment. He's on the lower half of it, but he is on the list. And I've given him a lot of props throughout his career. I actually think he has one of the best resumes out of all the young guys, arguably the best. Him and Devin Haney are 1A and 1B. I have Haney above his, but I think his is not far behind. And honestly, if he did take on a better opponent, I would probably be making a breakdown on his resume the same way I did for Devin Haney, crediting it and acknowledging what he's done in his career. However, this is just a terrible fight, guys, objectively, and I'm going to break that down. Now, we all saw Teofimo's last outing just at 2 months ago, actually, against Jermaine Ortiz, where he won a very competitive, semi-disputed, and very unimpressive unanimous decision against Jermaine Ortiz. It was a very bad performance on his end and Ortiz's end, to be fair, even though Ortiz did implement his game plan semi-well. It was a bad outing from Lopez, but he got the job done. He technically won, and Ortiz is a good fighter. He's a respectable name. Some people thought he beat Lomachenko. I'm not one of them, but it was a very close fight. So, yes, I had problems with that outing, but I understand. Sorry, I'm actually going to change points here. I understand that Teofimo Lopez wants to come back and make a statement and impress after his last outing, but doing it against Steve Clag is not the way, guys. When you look at the WBO rankings and you look at the guys that he could be taking on instead, if you look at the entire rankings, let's look at the top 10. We'll start off with the obvious, Arnold Barboza. This fight should be the fight getting made right now. I don't know how much longer Arnold Barboza has to wait for a title shot. I'm not saying his resume is spectacular, but it's very solid. He's done what he's had to do. He's been number one in the WBO for quite a while now, or at least top 2, top 3 WBO for a while now. And it 100% should be Lopez versus Barboza. I thought we would have gotten that fight by now. It actually surprises me that we still haven't. If he doesn't take on Arnold Barboza, number 2 ranked Jose Ramirez has a fight coming up. Richardson Hitchens literally just fought on Saturday. I wouldn't mind number 4 ranked Sandor Martin rematch. I think that's a decent fight for Lopez. A lot of people thought he lost the first fight. I had Lopez winning by 1 point. It was a very close fight in my opinion. However, Martin did get robbed of a second knockdown in that fight. He dropped Lopez twice, but they only counted one of them. So I would have had a draw if they counted that knockdown. Number 5 ranked Josh Taylor and number 6 ranked Jack Haddoll. They're taking each other on. Number 7 ranked Elvis Rodriguez. That is a much better fight in my opinion because Rodriguez is still pretty young. He's still a respectable contender. Lopez would dominate him, but that's not a bad opponent. Sean McComb, number 8. Number 9, Liam Paro. Paro has a fight coming up against Subriel Matias. Number 10, Nestor Bravo, who's a decent little contender in his own right. And obviously, number 11, Jermaine Ortiz. Now, obviously, the first Ortiz fight was pretty bad, guys. I understand that. And it would make sense for no one to want to see an Ortiz rematch. But if we're being objective here and logical, whenever the first fight is terrible and competitive and they have a rematch, the second fight is always better. And I can assure you guys, if they do rematch, Lopez Ortiz 2 would be much better than the first fight. It would probably be very similar to the way we expected the first fight to go. And it would be much more back and forth, much more explosive, and much more entertaining. As well as many people thought Ortiz beat Lopez or thought he was very close to getting the job done. And it would be good for Lopez to separate himself from Ortiz, or at least attempt to separate himself from Ortiz. Now let's look at Steve Clag. Let's break him down, because I've gone enough into what Lopez should have done in my opinion. Obviously, unification is what we really want, but Matias is tied up, Isaac Cruz just fought and just became a champion, and Haney is tied up. So I understand him not fighting another champion. I really don't have much of an issue with it right now. Hopefully, after this fight, he does pursue a champion. Let's look at Steve Claggett. Steve Claggett has a record of 38 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws of 26 wins by knockout. He's out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is a guy who I will give him some props, right? He is better than his record. He's better than a guy who's 38-7. If you look at what he's done in his career, he has not done anything necessarily sensational, but he isn't a bad fighter. Now, he's nowhere near Lopez's level. This is not a fight that should be getting made. Steve Claggett is a fringe contender. He should not be a genuine contender, in my opinion. He's not a bad fighter, and I'm not here to disrespect Claggett as a fighter or even claim that he's anything of the sort of a bum or, a mediocre garbage fighter. I just don't see him as world level, and in my opinion, he genuinely isn't world level. He's done some decent things in his career, I'll give him that. He has a win against Petros Ananyan, the same Petros Ananyan that beat Subriel Matias, then Matias avenged that defeat and dominated him. That was all the way back in July of 2018. He has a win against Yves Olissi, who was never amazing, but always a decent little contender. He has a win against Alberto Machado, stopping him in 3 rounds. That's a nice little win as well, even though Machado ended up being a hype job. When you look at his career, he's also a pretty durable guy as well. He's only been stopped once in 47 fights. He's only been stopped once in 47 fights, and it was all the way back in 2011 in the final round of that bout against a Filipino fighter named Romeo Jacko Salem. So he's a durable guy. I give him that. He's a veteran. He's experienced. He's not trash. He's not garbage, but there are levels here, and this is a very bad fight. Let's be honest here. If Devin Haney was taking on Steve Claggett next, he would be getting a lot of hate, including from me. If Gervonta Davis was fighting Steve Claggett next, he would be getting a lot of hate, including from me. As well as, honestly, any champion in the weight class. Subriel Matias, the same thing. Isaac Cruz, the same thing. Even some guys who aren't champions, such as Arnold Barboza and Jose Ramirez, Richardson Hitchens. These fringe contenders are guys that are just at a title shot, right? If they were taking on Steve Claggett, they would be getting criticism. So it's only fair that Teofimo Lopez gets criticism as well. Now, I understand Lopez has fought very good opposition throughout the last couple of years, right? He went from Nakatani to Comey to Lomachenko to Kambosos, taking a little break by taking on Pedro Campa, who I genuinely believe is better than that fight suggested. I do think Pedro Campa is much better than a 7th-round TKO loss to Lopez. He was giving Lopez a couple issues as well. I mean, he was clearly losing, but he was having some moments. He gave Brandon Lee a very, very tough fight about a year ago. So Pedro Campa is not a bum. So that was actually a decent win in my opinion, an underrated win. Sandor Martin, good fighter. Josh Taylor, really good fighter as we know. Jermaine Ortiz, solid fighter. So I understand Teofimo Lopez, since Nakatani, has fought nothing but killers pretty much, or at least respectable names. But going from that to Steve Clag, not a great look. If he wanted a softer touch, there's a few other guys he could have taken on in my opinion. I understand after fighting 6-7 good opponents in a row, you want to take a little bit of a break. And yes, Steve Claggett is ranked number 13 in the WBO. He's ranked number 7 in the WBC. He is not ranked in the WBA, and he is not ranked in the IBF. Oh, yes, he's ranked number 15 in the IBF. So I understand he's on 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies. He's ranked in 3 out of the 4 of them, even though he's number 15 and number 13. So he's barely ranked in them, and number 7 in the WBC. I understand he's ranked, but that doesn't make the fight necessary. There's other guys he could have taken on, as I said. I think if he really wanted to prove himself, the smartest thing to do would rematch Jermaine Ortiz, made a statement, or at least take on someone in the realm. Honestly, we should take on Arnold Barboza, but I understand he wants a soft touch, but I feel this is just a little too soft of a touch. So you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully Lopez doesn't make this a reoccurring theme, because he has taken on pretty much nothing but killers, and I give him full credit for that. This isn't a video to hate on Teofimo Lopez, but more to hate on this particular fight and criticize it. No fighter in the sport's immune from criticism, and Teofimo Lopez is another one of them who I will criticize if I feel it's warranted. But I give him a lot of credit throughout his career. He's done great things in the sport. He has a lot of potential to be a future Hall of Famer, and I'm a big fan of him. So hopefully after this fight, Lopez does not make this a reoccurring theme, and I don't think he will, because he's fought nothing but killers in the last 4 or 5 years. Hopefully he continues to take on top guys, and we'll see what he does after this bout. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Am I wrong? Is Claggett better than I'm acknowledging? Is he worse than I'm acknowledging? Because I am giving Claggett some credit as well. He's not garbage. He's probably a C+, B- type of fighter, but this is not the fight we should be getting in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.